Welcome back.
Hey George, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
I got a cold right when I got back.
Uh, where's your
I'm all
Irish
right.
bro? How, how long have you been back?
Oh, we got back. We flew in on Tuesday.
Got
So
it.
Tuesday was a lost day. Wednesday I was in bed sick. So
Oh
Yes.
no.
just trying to recover now. And then of course we brought the weather with us. I was like, why? We just left Ireland. Why is it? Although Ireland is the weather's so weird. It's so weird. It's like, what is happening? Ah.
Well, I mean, it's just wet.
No, 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 no.
Yeah, yeah,
Just
yeah,
like
yeah,
Scotland,
yeah.
just like Scotland, what happens is this in 20 minutes, the sun will be out, then clouds will roll in, and you'll get just darkness, and then you'll get like rain, and then the sun will come back out, and it'll be dry, and then it'll rain, and then the clouds will come in and it'll mist. And that's just 20 minutes. And you're just like, what is happening? It's,
All
it's
right. Well,
very
the important
anxiety.
thing is, did you get to tour the Guinness Brewery in Dublin?
Now we drove past it a million times. I
Okay.
don't care about the brewery. I've been to breweries.
Well, you
They're
don't you
interesting.
don't drink, so it doesn't really
I
matter.
don't drink.
That's
I
right.
mean, plus you've got to plan that in advance.
Yeah,
And
got
the
it.
entire economy of Ireland is based on that one company. So I don't think they have any other industry anymore.
I thought it
So
was all the drug manufacturers that were leaving the United States. But anyway. All right. Well, that's another story.
I've got a big Intel plant where my buddy works. He gave us a quick drive around the outside, and I'm like, whoa, this place. He's like, this is a small campus. I'm like, well,
Wow.
not really, but I mean, it's small compared to Arizona, but it's a
When you
pretty big
drive through
place.
South Carolina, you don't really see that. I mean, you can see a large on the way to Greenville. You can see um,
You'll see big buildings,
on
but
the way.
there's no
Yeah.
big campuses.
Yeah. Not
Yeah.
campuses, but big
With
build like,
5,000 workers.
yeah,
Like
with a lot
Intel
of
has like
trucks
five or
and trailers.
6,000 workers there at that
But
one
I
place.
was going down to the LSU game, and we were driving as we were leaving Georgia, right at the border. Um, we to Alabama, the Kia and Hyundai plants are down there. Oh
Oh yeah.
my Lord, massive! It's incredible. So we don't have anything like that in South Carolina. Not a clue what a manufacturing campus looks like.
Campus, yeah.
Yeah.
Campus facilities are wild.
So kind of interesting, but
It's
that's
it's
okay.
cool to be in a European village, and there are castles like down the street, and then there's a huge modern Intel
That's
campus. It's
funny.
like, what happened?
Yeah,
Stepping
that's
through
funny.
time.
So we got Miss
It's,
Patty with us. So we got some updates, I guess, and well, Aaron's with us and everybody else. You want to kind of get started, or we're
yeah,
gonna? I
let's
think we'll
get
try and do
started,
a little
I
hard
guess.
stop. And sorry, Patty, let me just wrap this up. This is recorded. We will put it on the YouTube video channel, which is my background, and those are just kind of some of the particulars we have to do. So it is recorded and no financial advice, believe me. So, but we will be getting into a little bit of financial later on. But Patty, I'll give
Okay.
you the floor.
All right. Overall, it was a really bumpy week, but um, generally positive. So the Dow is up almost 1%, 0.72 as of this morning. It's staying above the 47,000 level, and it looks like it's going to hit 48,000. So it's at
Wow.
47,751 this morning. S&P was up 1.21% over the last 5 days. It's soon to hit 7,000. It's at 6910.
Mhm.
The Nasdaq was the real winner. It was up 2.79%, and with
Yeah.
let's see, Apple and Amazon earnings, I think it will go even higher if we add in today. So it's staying above the 23,000 level, which is unbelievable. So it was at
Yeah.
23,581. The Russell was the big loser, down 1.44%. It hit a high on Monday of 225.37, but it's ever since Monday has been declining. Um, Gold I mentioned last week that it hit a wall. You know, it got up to 41.40 was its high, and it just seems to be retreating. It had a small bounce, but it's hovering around $4,022. If you look at the technical analysis, it's doing the head and shoulders move, and that means that it's going down to create the arm. So it could drop like 400 points down to 3,600. Silver has been flat, staying around $48.50. Dollar has strengthened. It's up 0.5% to 99.58. So that's not good for equities, but I guess overall, if you want a strong dollar, it is strengthening. The 10-year went up on the news that, and I'll talk about that in a second. The Fed cut on Wednesday the quarter basis point, but when Chairman Powell said the December quarter basis point cut is not guaranteed because there's dissension in the committee, the 10-year shot up. And rats, I didn't write it down, but it's over 4% now. It's almost at 4.1%. WTI crude retreated again. It's down in 5 days, 1.8%. So it's hovering at $60.45. And I'll just run through. I won't go into detail, but NVIDIA, I guess you heard, is the first company to hit 5 trillion in value. The stock went up its highest point on Wednesday. I saw 213, but on a chart it only says 212 was the high. It's back down $10 to 202. MicroStrategy, it beat on earnings last night, and wow, it has gotten hammered.
Yes.
In the last week, as it was at 299 and it went down to 253 yesterday. But I did listen to the entire MicroStrategy call. It was so interesting. Michael Saylor is amazing. And basically, he said, I want the MSTR to stand for monster. I want to create a new digital credit market. And he went into detail of how he has created several instruments that he is trying to reduce his leverage to zero. They want zero debt. And he said, we are going to get there. He explained the path of how they're going to have zero debt. They are not selling Bitcoin. They acquired even more. And I didn't write down the amount, but they own more than anybody. They got an S&P rating, and it was a B minus. And the reason they did that is because a lot of people in the private market said, well, we can't work with you because you don't have an S&P Standard & Poor rating. So that's why they sought that, so they could continue to lend to other people using their Bitcoin holdings as the basis. The call was great. It was
That's
like an hour
interesting.
and a half or so, but I'm sure it's taped if you wanted to go back and listen to all that they
Yeah.
said. Yeah. Let me just run down because I'm not going to. This was a big earnings week. ServiceNow has announced a stock split 5-to-1s, which would make the stock about $190 more achievable if you're interested in that stock. Netflix announced a 10-to-1 stock split that'll go into effect November
Wow.
17th. It made Netflix pop last night. So if they split today, it'd be about 120 a share.
So Netflix is about $600 right now. I don't think I have that on my watch
No,
list.
Netflix is
1124.
1108. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
1108.
Yeah, it gotten above
God.
$1,200. Yeah. Okay, so Apple beat last night. Amazon beat last night. Meta was the big news 2 days ago. Wednesday night, they had a wonderful quarter, but what got them in trouble, and they had one of the worst day they've had in years, lost $85 last time I looked, was because they were announcing they're going to continue. They've increased their capex for this year up to 72 billion, and next year they are going to expand or increase the capex even higher, but their income they expect to be reduced. So they're kind of getting out of balance, and the street did not like that. So they're going to be spending more than they're pulling in. in the first quarter. Microsoft, I think Microsoft's quarter was good, but it had run up so much into earnings that it lost about $15 yesterday. Google was a blowout. Don't have the numbers, but it popped too. Palantir is reporting next Monday, and then finally the Fed did cut a quarter point on Wednesday, and the big news that made the market go down Thursday and yesterday was no December guaranteed rate cut.
I
Oh,
remember
and they're
that.
going to end quantitative tightening. They're freezing their balance sheet on December 1st, and they will continue to get rid of mortgage-backed securities, and their plan is to buy treasuries next year when they begin purchasing again. That's it.
Well, let me say this, Patty, that you have a great ability to focus and stay on message and follow your notes, even when you have a cat crawling around your neck.
Yes, Bunny. I think he's
Man, I
helping.
don't know how you do it.
Hey,
So good. Kudos to
George,
you.
did you all hear this about Microsoft? Meet Kevin talked about this. I mean, if you don't know the Kevin guy from California, a
Um,
very popular a financial guy,
did hear
he
something
said
about
that
Microsoft.
Microsoft is investing in the AI chips, but they are basically getting other people to they are renting the chips, and they're getting other people so they don't have to hold the debt on their books.
Hmm.
So they will, and so basically in 5 years, these chips will be worthless. But they're more. I mean, but these companies are buying the chips and buying the rights to the chips,
Got it.
while AI, I mean, while Meta has full use of the chips. It was very
Yep.
interesting. He also talked
Yeah.
about Nvidia not actually producing chips; they're just engineering the chip. Not, I mean, not actually producing it, but I mean, somehow fixing it or doing something to it,
Hmm.
making the blueprints for it.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
don't. There are no chip companies. The chip industry collapsed like 20 years ago. No one, like HP, Sun,
Intel.
uh, everybody used to be in the chip industry, right? There were independent chip manufacturers, and now there's like three, and that's it. And there's never going to be more. Like that's never going to happen because the outlays are too high. So like AMD famously never had a fab. AMD was always a fabless company, right? And they always made better chips than Intel, and they still do, for the most part. So
Or Intel.
that's not news. The problem with the chip industry is that it's it's A, moving too fast, and B, hitting a wall at the same time. And it's a very bad industry to be in because of that. That's why HP got out. That's why Sun couldn't
Don't tell
stay in. That's
Nvidia
why
that.
MIPS couldn't stay in. Like there's a ton of companies that figured this out, 20, 30 years ago and said, yeah, we're not manufacturing chips. TMS yeah, TSMC is the big chip manufacturer, and they rely on like two vendors for all of their equipment. And all of that equipment is very reliant on new innovations in how to etch, uh, how to etch and how to do electric. So all the innovation in chips is going to come out of either quantum, whatever that is this week, or light. That's it. Because they're quickly hitting the point where they can't get any smaller or faster. Every once in a while, people do new materials like germanium or something instead of silicon, but ultimately, that whole idea of fabbing chips has to change at some point.
Hmm.
And that point has been extended a few times, much to everyone's surprise, but that's not going to last very long. And because chips have been invalidating themselves so quickly, no one wants to be anywhere near that market, even on the engineering side, because ultimately it's everyone's going to be as fast as everybody else. There's going to be no edge to be had.
I used to do chip manufacturing financing when I was at BNP Paribas, and those manufacturing facilities are bespoke for each type of chip. Their useful life is at max 18 months, so the whole manufacturing process is a wasting asset. Very expensive to finance, and that's why heretofore they were able to get some decent margins, but with everything collapsing in the market and the cost coming down so much, it no longer is a viable business.
Well, don't tell
Interesting.
NVIDIA that. They said they don't even care if people give their chips away. They're innovating so quickly, working on the next chip, like the Blackwell. They're like, we're moving on beyond that, and they said we don't even care what happens to the old chips that we've already sold.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's also because they're what the game that they're all playing is they're selling to the very highest margin business possible, which is Elon Musk and Bill Gates, roughly speaking. Oh, there's a couple of others, right? Um, and so
She,
they're just taking money from the highest margin players in the industry. And so their game has nothing to do with product and everything in the world to do with financing. And that's why guys like Michael Saylor are completely illegally, which is not an unusual trend, getting into the banking industry, right? That's
Well,
effectively what
yeah,
they're trying to do is quote revolutionize finance, which is never going to work. It's been tried a billion times before. There's a reason why banks work the way they work. But all the companies are trying to do that. Like X is trying to do that. Everyone's trying to get into payments and banking and trade because if you're the middleman on transactions that happen millions of times a minute,
yeah,
like MasterCard and Visa, you can make a lot of money and you don't have to charge a lot to do it.
that's
So
right.
that's like
well,
I'm with them. I
We'll
wish
talk
I could
about
do
that in a
okay.
little
Let me
bit
just
when
make one
predictive
comment.
markets.
I do
Right.
disagree with that because what he's doing is issuing bonds, and he's paying, higher than money markets or a treasury bond. He's paying over 10% dividends when he actually issues these, and I think it's going to work. Um, so
everybody who got in on banks early got 10, 20, 25, 50, 70% returns. Everybody.
mhm.
So yeah, new banks are very profitable if you're in on the new bank.
Okay. Well, that was we extended that conversation down
Yes,
an
sorry.
interesting road, but that's okay. Um, but as far as that Sailor uh, earnings call goes, that would be a great one. I'm assuming you listened to it on Robinhood on your platform.
I did. I
Yeah,
did. I was so
and I
glad
can
they
go
sent
get
the
it,
note,
and
and you can
I'll put it
just
in
touch it.
Chat GBT or something and get it to summarize it for me.
It was totally worth listening to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds like it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
thank you
sorry.
both,
Hold
Mark,
on.
Reba, for throwing those comments in there. Let's switch
You're
over
welcome.
to Aaron and Jordan for a little bit of update on the crypto news, see what's going on there, and then we'll jump into the Clarity Act and sort of talk about that right quickly with the help from Reba.
Hey George, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, so correct me if I'm wrong, Patty. I think Meta they also had I think 300 million in Bitcoin purchases reported. I think during that earnings call as well.
I missed
Um,
that. Sorry. Yeah.
yeah, I think that and I think that's something too. Like with Tesla reporting theirs and maintaining how much they own. I think, those are good positive catalysts. I think we see more and more, digital assets show up on balance sheets. But as far as the technical analysis goes, October was not um, what I thought. Definitely, so definitely was wrong in the sense of compared to history too. So it's not a great month for Bitcoin. I think it's one of the worst. I think since 2018. So
Mm.
I still optimistic for the rest of the year. I'm eyeing the 122K sometime in December, late November. I think you have some positive catalysts coming up with the government reopening. Based on past market trends, you've seen a dump and then a pump, and then sometimes it pumps immediately. So I think that'll be a positive catalyst. But just because it reopens, I wouldn't just go out and buy buy everything for sure. Um, one of the I think the biggest or one of the biggest, especially in the remittance industry, was Western Union. As they've been on the outside kind of the tokenizing or getting on chain, and They partnered with Solana and then Anchorage Digital as a custodian. But it's very interesting too with what Ripple does, and there's some smaller guys like Telcoin with
I
what they're
was gonna
doing.
say, I was hoping you were gonna
Um,
bring up
yeah, so it's
XRP because if you follow XRP, I've been in the XRP community since like 2017, since like the original days, and they used to go around and flaunt that 150 partnership list, and Western Union was like the top of their list. Like, oh, we got Western Union XRPs. It was before all the governments and stuff and the SWIFT overtake and stuff like that. And seeing Western Union partner up with Solana, like people were making memes that it was like the worst day ever, for XRP people, which I was surprised the price didn't react as bad as it did. They have a lot more
yeah,
going on from now than that, original list in, 2017, 2018. But yeah, I wanted to put that little note in there at that mark.
yeah. No, I thought the same. I thought Ripple would take a bigger hit, but I know they're I don't know. I don't understand the why Solana over them. But I'm pro
I can name a lot of
Solana.
reasons.
Yeah, and I do. I'm
37,000 reasons to be exact.
yeah, definitely bullish, but it puts another feather in the hat for Solana being long term. I think kind of filling that number three spot right after Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. And I
Yeah.
think that's where the trend's kind of moving towards.
Mhm.
And then definitely if you're into Solana, make sure you get it staked, because they do dilute quite a bit as well. So
Yeah.
um, I think
You,
that's
you want to
uh,
add,
that's
you
all
want
I
to ask
got.
Paul what he want? Aaron, Paul's got his hand up. You want to jump in with
Oh
him?
yeah, yeah. Go ahead, Paul.
Read somewhere that Solana may have actually paid some money for that partnership. And number two, is this really just delaying the inevitable? I mean, why do we even need Western Union? It's almost like
You
kind of a
don't.
blockbuster. It's like a
I think
blockbuster
it's
moment.
I
Like
think it's
why?
a media gimmick. They're not doing anything. What do they need? Yeah, I was talking about it in the Telegram. What, another stable coin? What do you need another stable coin? We got like 600 already.
Why can't people just
Like,
send USDC to each other directly?
Yeah. So
because
the interesting
they
thing
haven't
too with
figured
the
that out yet, and the companies are getting their last squeeze.
well, in the remittance too, depending on the countries and the different licensing in each country. And I followed Telcoin really close, and they were going from the United States to Singapore and transferring a stable coin that once they transfer it, it goes from their currency to the stable coin, from the stable coin to the currency that they're sending to. And that all happens behind closed doors, but they're using the blockchain to kind of facilitate that. And to be able to approve it, they need these you have these bankless sit it like in Singapore they don't have a bank but they have a cell phone, so they would need to what apps are they using to pay for stuff if they're not using banking apps? So then whatever payment app that they have to have has to get the licensing and the registration. And I think Western Union already has all those guard or those rails set up in all these different countries that allows it to work with these partnerships in these third world countries where those remittance payments are getting sent at a crazy amount.
Yes.
I apologize. I'm looking here. It actually some of the stuff that I read about is that Solana actually paid for the partnership.
That's hilarious. That makes it even more invaluable, I feel like.
Where did you
Well,
find that news, Paul? That's interesting.
Certain people that I follow on X reports allege Solana paid 50 million for a total of 6-month exclusive deal with Western Union.
six
There's
months.
quite a few people that are posting it, so you can, if it's not accurate, someone I would imagine will come out and clarify.
Yeah,
But that's
interesting.
Yeah.
again, I look at it from both angles. If Brandy posted something about it yesterday on LinkedIn, and I asked the question of the community, like, why? Maybe I'm missing something here, but why can't people why do we even need Western Union? It's an old way. It's almost, you can almost compare it to, regular mail versus email.
Kodak
I think the
camera.
licensing is a huge moat.
Right.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah. And that makes sense.
yeah, for example, Kraken has a team of 51 lawyers, And what they've been doing is going around buying companies that have licensing. The most
Mm.
recent one is they bought a company or they bought the license from a company so they can do commodities trading and be a dealer. And
Hmm.
rumor has it that they paid like something like $1 billion for it, some outrageous amount of money, because they get a 2 year advance step up rather than having to wait 2 years for the licensing. So they can generate that type of revenue to make up for that cost.
Sounds like
Sounds like
Trump offering the Trump coin to get into the United States. If you pay, what is it, 100,000, five hundred
Yes.
thousand dollars, we put you to the front of the line.
Or
and
talking
just
about
a just a few
the
more small notes before we get off crypto. Um, Bitcoin hash rate continually going up, even though price is steady. Bitcoin hash rate is dang near all-time highs. Miners are coming out with new tools every day. They're coming out with renewable energy resources. So these miners, they have the capabilities of staying up full time. They're finding ways to make modifications and do maintenance to these miners without taking them offline.
Yeah,
And
good
there's
point.
there's just lots of things that are happening that are just for like the future of the network.
Jordan,
The hash.
can you talk a little bit just about hash rate and how it secures the
I mean,
network?
hash rate is the energy that's, the total amount of energy that's being used to fund the network, to source the network.
Yeah, but how
Uh,
does it
you know,
make the network secure?
well, through the blocks, they got to solve the puzzles and create
Yeah.
the blocks. So it takes more energy to solve the puzzles to add more blocks.
And therefore,
Um,
nefarious actors, it's much more difficult for them to interfere with the,
oh, certainly, certainly.
yeah, I mean, that's pretty obvious, but I just want to make that point clear that, the
And
hash
then,
rate, it impacts the security of the network. And we don't want nefarious actors
right, yeah, yeah.
in it.
So
So,
high hash rates, essentially a good thing. Um, and no one talks about Ethereum anymore, but they are coming out with a major upgrade in December that they just voted on. And Ethereum still has quite a bit of activity. A lot of their L2s get a lot of credibility too. People don't talk about Polygon anymore. People don't talk about optimism.
yeah.
But there are a lot of companies out there. They're not the huge ones in the top 25 major companies, but they're respectable companies, and they're choosing these blockchains to put their business on.
All
did
right.
JP Morgan build on?
JP Morgan's also accepting Bitcoin and Ethereum as
Wow.
collateral for
No, but
loans.
but they built
Hmm.
well, I don't know why Onyx is coming up. Is it Onyx?
They
Um,
Uh,
changed it to Kinesis, the
okay,
name.
Kinesis. Did they build that on Ethereum?
did they build Kinesis on Ethereum?
I for some reason I thought they did. I thought that something JP Morgan was building, whether it was the stable coin or the whole platform, was on Ethereum. Well, it could be
Uh,
wrong.
yeah, I'm not 100%. I'd have to look into that. I've actually played on Kinesis a little bit. I'm trying to sign up with them, but I haven't seen anything that made me cross-reference. I'm like, oh, this is on Ethereum. It
Okay.
doesn't mean it's not true. I just haven't seen that.
Well, why don't we jump over to just talk a little bit about the Clarity Act, and thank you all for updating us on what's going on in the market. Pretty fascinating stuff and a lot to sort of digest. But and same thing with the Clarity Act. I think just to set it up right quickly, we know that there some guardrails are being set. We've got the Genius Act out and signed by the president. We in a nutshell, that's kind of related to stable coins. There's also the market structure bill called Clarity. That's out of the House and in the Senate. The Senate's tweaking it to their desires and so last or earlier this week there was some heavy hitters in um, with Coinbase, Kraken, and Uniswap meeting with senators to get their questions answered. Coinbase's Armstrong did some interviews. I didn't get any from Kraken or Uniswap. So they focused on Armstrong, what he was talking about, and how he was answering their questions to get some clarity. That they think they're almost there, and they've got a couple of hurdles to jump through. But closer to this action is Reba, and I'm gonna ask
I
her if
just
she
have a
can.
question, George. Can I just ask a question before you pass it? The
Sure.
government's shut down right now. I don't, are they even
Yeah.
working on stuff like
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are.
Are they?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
I just,
That's
I was just curious. I thought that's something that they'd be doing other things, but
well,
The
they're
okay.
getting
Senate,
paid.
the Senate is open for business,
Yes.
Senate is
not the
open for
House.
business. Heard.
So
The
Reba,
House
did
is
you hear
subject to the
anything about what
filibuster.
they're trying to? Did you hear anything about DeFi or about
Yeah,
anything?
I hear conflicting news.
Yes.
So I attended a Nelson Mullins event that they hosted for clients. So we're a client of Nelson Mullins. They hosted it in their office in DC this past Tuesday. Their office is directly across the street from Congress. So they pointed out that you can look through the rooftop space that they have there. And you can look right onto the Congress grounds, and
Oh.
the flag for the Senate is raised, which means they are in session and working. And the flag to the right, as you're looking at it, is not, and that's the flag for the House. And they obviously are not working. They're still subject to the filibuster. And so the conflicting news that I got is that on Monday, I'm sorry, on Tuesday, at that event, Bernie Moreno spoke, and he's the
Okay.
Republican senator from Ohio. He's on the banking committee. He said that he expects that it will get past the banking committee and onto the Senate floor by Thanksgiving, and that the bill itself will pass by the end of the year. However, in talking with what I call an industry thought leader slash legal colleague of mine, who's pretty close to the situation, especially on the DeFi side, said there's no way. There is no way that's going to happen because it's not just about the Senate Banking Committee, but it has to get through the Senate Ag Committee and the House Ag Committee, and then eventually work its way to the floor final passage. So I think we're still in sort of a conundrum as to what's going to happen there. Now, George, you mentioned the Genius Act and the stablecoin law that was passed through that act. And that act basically took stablecoins out of the purview of the SEC and the CFTC. It's not a security, it's not a commodity. So it's pretty much clearance for stablecoins to be issued, but there are lots of details behind that bill that need to be really considered. So, among other things, there are the requirements as to who can issue a stablecoin. Basically, banks and financial institutions that themselves are regulated. And then
Right.
yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead. Did
Paul.
somebody say something?
I thought
Oh,
Paul.
I was acknowledging. I said yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there are requirements as to what needs to support those stable coins. And as we all know, that's cash or treasuries or some sort of similar type of what we call stable asset. What's interesting is that that act said that a sovereign instrument could be considered a stable asset that a stable coin could hold as a reserve. So, as you might know, Alpha Point powers the Chivo wallet for El Salvador.
Right.
And the sovereign currency for El Salvador is Bitcoin. So that, among others, but that begs the question, or it has been Bitcoin. Um, there have been changes because of the IMF, but then that begs the question, oh, if that's a sovereign type of fiat, could that be used as a reserve
Yeah.
asset?
Hmm.
So there are all kinds of questions that are sort of the nuanced that need to be worked out through regulatory clarity. So, putting that aside, even if this market infrastructure bill finally gets passed, it will be subject to a lot of regulatory rulemaking. So, it's going to be a long haul before we really do have clarity. Um, but the
Sure.
DeFi area is where there's a lot of disagreement.
Yes.
And that's why the Democrats came up with their proposal, um, which is a counter proposal to the Clarity Act and to the Senate's own version of the bill.
My 2 cents worth is that as you're reading, the Democrats are focusing on preventing illicit finance and activity. And
Yep.
they also want to ensure consumer protections. That's kind of their rails. Then the Republicans are rails are they want to include innovation and they want to make sure we're competitive. And so those are the two philosophies, I guess, that are sort of clashing in the DeFi space or in this Clarity Act. That's about all I can add to it. It's a cluster, and thank you for straightening it out a little bit, Reva.
But
It's an
George, you sum
ongoing
it up
process.
exactly. That's a perfect sum up because that's really what it's all about. And then essentially, what that boils down to is how do they define technology ultimately in the bill? Because if
Wow.
technology as a carve out includes DeFi platforms, then that's more in line with what you say the
Hmm.
the Republicans want, more sort of a
Yep.
fostering innovation and the
Innovation.
like. Yeah,
And then technology on the Democrats, they see it as a bad actor, so to speak.
yeah.
But
And at least has to have some rails or some regulatory oversight before something is offered on a DeFi platform.
exactly.
But can I ask about the whole interest aspect? Like I know that was at one point
Yeah.
something that was contention. It was around who receives the interest from the stable coins. Is that accurate? And what is
Well,
the current
yes, true. There's still discussion around that, and
Hmm.
clarity is needed to be
Yes.
provided through regulatory rulemaking. But you're right. So there's a prohibition on yield being able to be generated by stablecoins.
In the
So
Genius
that
Act.
would include not only interest, but arguably things like rewards and everything else, something that gives an enhanced a boost to one's holding of a stablecoin. So under, my understanding is that the bank lobbyists really lobbied
Yes.
against having kind of yield, and so they're still working through it. But this is something that then people are thinking, oh, well, there's a workaround because an affiliate of a stablecoin issuer might be able to provide some sort of enhanced, whatever yield, rewards, or something else to a stablecoin that's issued by a party that's subject to all the rules. So that's one thing.
Hmm.
What kind of affiliate relationships can end run it? That's one thing. The second thing is that the banks themselves want to be able to issue um, basically digitized deposits. And those would be able to earn interest because it's just simply a representation of a deposit, a bank deposit, and
Right.
deposit, of course, can earn interest. So this all is to be worked out.
Yes. All right. Well, I'm going to try and limit the rest of the call to about 10 minutes. And let's jump over to predictive markets. I'm on a plan where we extended the call beyond the 40-minute parameter, but I'm trying to just trim it down a little bit. And we want to jump into predictive markets for a second. And I asked earlier this week, I saw where Algorand was offering a new predictive market platform. And so I sent that out to Paul, who knows Algorand, and Aaron and Jordan, who like to play in. We talked about predictive markets, so that sort of bumped my interest in this whole thing. And then we know about the Kalshi, which is limitedly has authority in the United States. poly market, which has no ability to be traded in the United States. And then, so how do these others
You
create
can trade
a
on poly
predictive
market with
market?
crypto.
Yeah, and then it's that affiliation that Reba was just mentioning. So anyway, the so then we see that the Trump organization through Truth Social is starting to create a predictive market. So I was like, wow, this is all of a sudden, and how does that impact South Carolinians? And does it impact us at all? Can we play in the market? Why such an interest in Coinbase? Brian Armstrong in a CNBC interview mentioned this months ago that they were extremely interested in getting into the predictive market. So I just throw it out there to see if anybody's got a take on it. I mean, Kalshi uh, has taken some legal action against the state of New York Gaming's Commission because they put a cease and desist order against Kalshi, and the Kalshi came back, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm just talking kind of um, out of not both sides of my mouth, because then I would be a lawyer. But let me just talk out of one side of my mouth. But anyway, that they said. Gauchi said that, well, you couldn't do that because we're a federally regulated entity through CFTC, and that's my understanding that the federal overrides the state, and so you can't do that to us. So we'll see because they've got that issue with several other states. So it's kind of interesting what Cauchy has done. And does anybody look at the predictive markets? Anybody? I'm not asking if you play them. And are they betting? Or are they contracts? Just like options are
Yes.
contracts, just like derivatives. It's a contract.
I think people are
Put
just
your
gambling.
chances. Say
It's a
again.
lottery. It's a lottery. By definition, predictive markets are a lottery. That's what a
No, it's a
lottery is.
contract.
I did it on
It's
Robinhood.
gambling.
Any piece of paper with a signature is a contract, technically. Everything's a contract.
What
Any
about a
handshake is a
handshake?
contract.
All right.
So
Yeah, not a
interestingly, I was in London and then I went to Cambridge and met with a geek who has an office in
Mark?
the business school for Cambridge, and he is an expert in predictive markets, and he sells his software to hedge funds in the U.S. Huge hedge funds use his software to create their
their
algorithms
office.
for trading. And he said they're all highly successful, that his algorithms are always generating returns. There's
Damn.
never been a negative return through use of these algorithms that are based upon predictive markets.
Mm, oh man.
I'm reminded of the movie The Great Short, but that's okay.
So let's talk about this instance last night with Brian Armstrong on the Coinbase earnings call. Uh, and there was a whole bunch of bets in on words that Brian Armstrong would say during the call. And at the very end of the call, like the last second, Brian's like, "Oh yeah, let me pull up the predictive markets yet and see what people are betting on for me to say." And he goes, "Oh, these words," and he literally lists every word that they're betting on him to say, and it's just like, what are these predictive markets really?
That's funny.
You
So he
know,
Easy way
just
to
those are
threw the
make
gonna
or lose
market.
money.
He threw
They're
the
based
predictive
on
market.
but they're based on very simple principles. Like more information from different perspectives is generally going to be a better predictor than a single perspective, no matter how much information you have.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's
Yes.
this distributed cognition idea. And the downside is, as was just pointed out, that it's public. And so there's no edge per se. But the damage is that ultimately the guy with the best unknown algorithm wins. And if we need algorithms for that, by the way, I can build those all day long. This is really trivial at the end of the day.
Talk
Very
to me
well
about
done.
that offline
I've
here,
got
Mark.
4 or 5 books on it right there. I've been doing it for 25 years.
All right,
It's
we'll talk
it,
offline about that.
well, yeah, if you want to, but the downside is that it assumes a non-rigged market, and again, it only works if your information is private. And
Okay.
if your algorithm or the information for your algorithm is not private, you don't have an edge anymore.
So
Or if the market is
predictive markets are large markets, so you never have one that's actually let me put it this way. The attention generated by the contracts is mainly national or international news, maybe some cultural news, but everybody sort of knows those interests or those pockets of information.
insider information
Yeah,
always
but
wins.
no,
Always.
you can't drill it down to a state, could you? I don't think there's enough of a population that would be interested in what are the chances that Alan Wilson will become governor of South Carolina. That I don't think that would be much of a predictive market. But so
You
I think it has to be a larger
Well, look at the
case
New
or
there's
York
larger
City. Look at the
attention.
New York City mayor race right now. That's huge on the
Yeah,
predictive
no, but
there
the
markets.
attention of that is
And in
the
fact,
nationwide and
fewer
what's his
no,
international.
it's total number of people because
Yeah.
it's a small margin business, right? It's high volume, small margin business. Right. And so there's two players. There's the people mediating the intermediaries to the betting. And then there's how many people in the betting pool and how much money they're willing to put there. And just like Nvidia only has five guys at the poker table who all have millions or hundreds of millions of dollars, this is the opposite, right? It's you need as many people as possible
Yeah.
in. That increases the fidelity of the market because again, more perspective, more information from more
Yeah.
perspectives makes
And
it a
then
better market, right?
so
But then it's smaller dollars because you
yeah.
need more people. So there's
Yeah.
always that trade-off. You just have to understand that trade-off.
Yeah, it's kind of fascinating, but
so just
and
because
we're
I
not,
went and put $1 billion on, say I went and just put like, hypothetically, obviously, I don't have, no one has money like this or doing it. Say I put like $1 billion on, Como winning the mayor race when he's down, like he's got like a 14% chance
What
or something
happened with
like that.
GameStop?
It exploded and then it
No,
died.
what happened with GameStop is some person who shouldn't have been allowed to because he had billions of dollars put leveraged money on GameStop going down. And one guy wrote one article and got a bunch of people to invest in it because that bet that GameStop was going to go down was actually wrong,
it's a good point.
right?
Yeah.
And then they flipped that
That's
on
right.
that billionaire and totally wiped him out.
Yeah.
And of course, he got bailed out because everything's corrupt. But actually, he should have been totally wiped out. All of assets should have been seized, and that would solve that problem. And you shouldn't be allowed to make a leveraged bet of $100 million when you have $3 billion in the bank. So I don't know what the hell's going on with that level of corruption. But that is the same principle behind the market because the bunch of guys that were doing the analysis on GameStop were not wrong. What they might have been wrong that had that not happened, the company would have gone under because there's no way to know
Well, the
once
stock's
that much
back already
money's
today.
involved. But they weren't wrong about that billionaire's bet being
Right.
stupid. That bet was stupid. And so
Yeah.
It
they made
reminds
a
me.
prediction that his bet was way out of kilter, and they were correct.
But it got on Reddit and everybody's pushed back against it. So the social media did its thing. All
Well,
right,
and he
so let's
was
wrap it
leveraged.
up. Okay, so we've been in this discussion 10 minutes. This is been great. I love it. Uh, we're going to wrap it up this weekend. We've got Ole Miss and South Carolina playing at Ole Miss, and we'll see how that goes. But anyway,
You
let's
guys
not
like
predict
college
anything
football.
on
You should
that.
have saw the Coastal Carolina jerseys last night. Coastal Carolina wore glow in the dark jerseys, turned off all the lights as the player entrance, and they were all lit up for Halloween. Like, yeah,
I
it's
like
on the
that.
internet if you look
Great.
Coastal
I'm
Carolina
going to find
football.
that. That's great.
Yeah,
Good for
Hey,
it's
them.
cool.
George, just so you know, Cauchy does have the governor's race in South Carolina. And they're predicting Nancy Mace at 65% right now.
Oh, wow. So excellent.
That's crazy. She is not
With
going
a,
to win.
with
She's
only
gonna break.
11,000 with only 11,811 volume though. That's the
Okay.
Go
Oh, I'd
place your
love
bet,
to. I'd
Patty.
love to track that. That'll be
Yeah.
fun to track. All right. Well, good. Thank you
You
for
know,
chipping in.
the moral of the story here is that society is officially in the garbage. So I think we can close with that.
Hey, if we're stuck in the government's tit,
Oh,
move out of the way. I went in there.
I want to go back to Aaron. Um, if Aaron's still on, Aaron,
Yep. What's up,
Michael
Patty?
Saylor said just in the next 2 months he thinks Bitcoin's going to 150.
Woo! I'm
I think
selling.
let's get to 122 first, and then
Okay.
but yeah,
And
I
just
think that's the next big stop, and then who knows, with Trump anything's possible. That's why I think it's the most difficult markets to trade in the last year or so. It's it's so unpredictable, on top of its already inherent volatility. So but yeah, I don't know, I think 122 is what I'm watching first.
I'm
Let me
happy to
just
Okay.
Your charter
hear
just
you be excited about the what Michael Saylor is doing, because I've always been very gray in what he's doing, and probably more negative than anything just because of his history. Um, but when you come out and say all the positive things about what he's doing, it just makes me feel like, I guess, a little bit better. Work with him with all those bitcoins.
All right.
Like,
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Well,
he
next
said
week,
we are
next.
not selling Bitcoin and we do not sell our stock and liquidate to try to make money. We sell it when it's at the top with
I thought
everybody
that.
else.
Hold on, you said profit. You need to take profit, Patty. You said always take profit.
I take profits
Y'all,
every day, but
y'all
not in
talk
Bitcoin.
that
Yeah.
offline.
I'm
All right. Next week, we do not have a call next Friday. So you get the weekend off. And I believe we're playing Texas A&M next week. So anyway, we might want the weekend off too. But anyway, we're going to wrap it up. Thank y'all so much for being here and have a great weekend and
All right.
enjoy.
thank
Thanks,
have a
you.
great
George.
week.
Thank you.